As you get ready for the new year or the new season of your child's youth sports season, as parent and coaches, let us set a resolution on how we can be the best role model for our children as they embark on their youth sports journey. As the adult or the parent or the coach, you play a critical role in shaping the child's athletic journey, helping them become not only skilled competitors, but also confident and resilient individuals. Hello, my name is Brian McSparron, and I'm a mental sports and performance coach and the author of Raising a Resilient Athlete. And today I want to share with you in this webinar tips on how you can build unshakable confidence in your athlete for success in sport and in life. Now, again, my name is Brian McSparron. I have over 20 years of coaching experience. I've coached levels from the youth to high school to college athletes. And the primary sports that I coached were ice hockey, lacrosse, soccer, track and field, and tennis. I have an athletic training background and a master's and a specialist degree in physical education. And I've been teaching for over 20 years physical education. And I am the author and a certified mental sports and performance coach. Now, my passion is to speak to teams, their coaches, parents, and athletes about the importance of mental training and teaching them mental skills techniques that can be implemented to help make them a better athlete. Now, the purpose of this webinar is a couple of things. One, to give you some insight into the mental game of sports. And then two, to give sports parents and coaches mental tips and strategies on how they can help improve their athletes' confidence. Now, the outline for today is first I'm going to talk about what is sports psychology, what is mental sports performance coaching, how can we manage the mental game of sport, what is confidence and how do athletes gain and lose confidence, tips on raising a confident athlete, how do you know if your child or athlete can benefit from mental sports performance coaching, and finally, some final thoughts at the end. So first of all, what is sports psychology? Well, at the universities, they have departments called the sports science department. And the sports science department is their primary focus is to study athletes' performance and how can we make athletes better. Within the sports science department, we have programs such as sports psychology, sports physiology, we have sports medicine, sports nutrition, and sports biomechanics. And all of these programs combined is focusing on how to make athletes better. Now, it's also important to understand and know is that we are not able to treat or diagnose any illnesses. That has to come from a medical professional. So what is mental sports performance coaching? Well, mental sports performance coaching is we use sports psychology, strategies, and techniques to help athletes break through barriers to help them play consistently. Now, the goal is to try to help an athlete to play consistently so they can help reach a peak performance. Now, all athletes can find their own level of what a peak performance is to them. Some are here, some are here, some are up here. But so what athletes have, they all have their own potential, physical potential on what they can do. So we want to try to do is minus the interferences that affect their potential in order for them to reach their peak performance. So what are some examples of some interferences that come into play that can sabotage an athlete's performance? So it could be a lack of confidence in their abilities to perform. They might have a loss of focus. They might suffer from anxiety or being nervous during competition. Or they might be dwelling on a mistake that happened in that game or maybe in yesterday's or past performances. So if you look at some of these examples, do you see any examples that affect your child's performance? Now, it's important to understand that mental sports performance coaches, you want to look at us as a support coach for your athlete. And just like you would do for the strength and strength and conditioning coach or the athletic trainer. We're a support coach for your athlete to help make them better. Now, when we incorporate mental coaching for athletes, we're going to try to help athletes in several different areas. One, we're going to help build up their confidence to go out there and perform, build up their self-esteem. We're going to teach them how to teach them some relaxation techniques so they can perform freely and just under control. We're going to help them with motivational aspects, how to be a better teammate. We're going to teach them skills on how to focus and concentrate. We'll teach them skills that relate to visualization and goal setting. So these are just examples of what an athlete will learn when they start incorporating mental performance coaching. Now, when it comes to understanding the mental game of sport, we also want to understand the performance cycle. Now, sometimes when I talk about the mental game, when people hear about the mental game, they start thinking about more negative type of things, like they have a mental problem or something like that. So instead of the mental game, I might use the word inner game. So inner game is you're looking inward within yourself, okay, instead of using the word mental game. So inner game is also a word that I'll use as well too. So if you think of the inner game, okay, the performance cycle is very, very important when it comes to the inner game because it utilizes our thoughts, our emotions to our performance. Okay, so thoughts and emotions is going to affect our performance. So a thought is going to elicit an emotion, and then that emotion is going to affect our performance. So if we look at athletic performance, for example, if athletes have negative thoughts, for example, like they're thinking, well, God, that shot was in, or they're hitting a golf shot and they say, don't miss, or don't hit the ball in the water, or a baseball player might be thinking, I can't hit a curveball, okay? Those negative thoughts are going to affect an emotion. And usually those emotions are going to be some form of anger, fear, and frustration. And when an athlete is competing with anger, fear, and frustration, that's going to affect their performance because now they're competing with fear, anxiety, and tension during their performance. And any athlete will not be able to compete and play at their top level if they are dealing with fear, anxiety, and tension during their performance. So our goal is we want to help teach the athlete to be able to play and compete free and be relaxed. That is the ultimate goal. All right? Now, for athletes, a lot of times what they want to do is they want to become bigger, faster, and stronger than their competitors. So they're thinking about the physical side of competition. And for 90% of athletes, that's what the focus is on. And that is important. However, there's another side of it. And again, we have to think about the inner game of sports, okay? Because the body plays the sport, but it's the mind that controls the actions, all right? So we have to understand that our mind has a very important role when it comes to competition, all right? And so your athlete has the skills to compete. They can go out there, they can hit, they can run, they can shoot. They have all those skills to compete, but it's their mind that gets in the way of their progress. So we want to teach athletes how to be in control of their minds so they don't have those issues of anxiety or tension or lack of confidence, so they can go out there and compete at a high level. Because top performing athletes are able to control their thoughts and their feelings. So, what is the number one mental barrier that limits athletes from playing their best? And that's pretty simple. That's confidence. Okay, confidence is the number one barrier that affects athletes. Okay, but what is confidence? Okay, so what confidence really is, it's a belief that the athlete has to go out there and perform, to be able to go out there and perform and execute a skill or a task. Okay, so you want to look at your child's different in their sport. What are their different sports skills that their athlete has to do in their sport? And how confident are they able to do those skills or execute that task. So, for example, in the sport of basketball, might be what's their confidence level in their dribbling skills or their free throws. A tennis player might be confident in their serves, okay, or their volleys. Baseball player, you have what's their confidence in their hitting, their fielding. A pitcher might be more confident in a fastball or a curveball. Okay, so there's different skills within the sport that the athlete has to have confidence in order to execute. Now, confidence can be very fragile. It can either be very, very high or it can be really low, and it can change from game to game. So we want to try to help athletes be consistent. Now, where confidence is the basis for overall development in sport. And so when an athlete is confident in their sports, they're going to be able to enjoy themselves, which will hopefully lead to more success and enjoyment in sports. So where does confidence come from? Well, athletes will gain their confidence from several different areas. Okay, one, they're going to gain confidence from past experiences, what they did yesterday, what they did in their a tournament maybe last week. So past experiences will help build up their confidence. Just their overall belief in their abilities. Okay, are they strong-willed? Do they have high confidence already? If they have high confidence, it's that inner belief that they have, and that's what we want to try to teach. They'll gain their confidence from practices and from their preparation, as well as their physical and their mental training. So these are the main sources of where an athlete will come from. Okay. Also, they'll get some confidence from others, from parents and coaches to help build them up. All right. So that's why our words are very important to an athlete. So how does an athlete lose confidence? Well, confidence, unfortunately, can come and go very, very quickly. And it's so hard to gain back. But an athlete loses confidence because, one, fear of failure. They're afraid to let others down. And that's one of the key things that we'll see with athletes is when they start to lose their confidence, they fear that they are letting other people down, their coaches down, their parents down, their teammates down. And they put all that weight on them. You can imagine how it affects their performance. Okay, they'll lose their confidence by just their lack of trust in their ability to perform. Oh, I can't. And you'll hear a lot of that, I can't. So when you hear those words, I can't, or I'm not good enough, that's just their inability or their lack of trust. Okay, they'll start going up there, they'll start overanalyzing, okay, and overthinking about their performance or how to do a particular skill instead of just going out there and then instead of just playing. All right, we can't be thinking about a skill because if we're thinking about the skill, then we're not performing the skill. We want to be able to have our athlete just go out there and just perform the skill and not think about it. Okay, and then the other thing is, and this is a big thing, is trying to play perfect. They're perfectionists. They don't want to make any mistakes. Okay, so these are the key things on when athletes lose confidence. Now, the big key when you start looking at this list here is, are any of these things related to physical talent? Okay, no. Okay, these are all related to feelings and emotions from the athlete. Now, unfortunately, as parents and as coaches, what do we do to athletes when they start fear that they're losing confidence in their game? What do we make them do? Well, we make them practice more. But the problem is practice is more the physical side. So regardless if you keep having them practice and practice and practice, when they get into competition, that's when they feel they cannot bring they can't bring what they did in practice back into their competition because they're dealing with more a feeling of an emotional type of situation. And that's where we try to teach the athlete the inner game. And that's where the mental game becomes so critical, because when athletes suffer from mental issues, you can't keep pushing physical practice on them. It doesn't work. So that's why when an athlete goes into You see athletes all the time, they practice so great in practice, but when they get into competition, they're a different athlete. Why? Is because when they're practicing, there's no pressure. And they're just free and they're just going out there, and it doesn't make a difference if they make a mistake. It's practice. I'm not going to let anybody down because it's practice. But as soon as they go into a game, it all changes for them. And that's what we need to teach our athletes. Okay? So, how can you, as a parent, help improve your athlete's confidence? So I'm going to share with you 7 tips on how you can build confidence for your athlete. All right, so tip number 1. As a parent, I want to give you what I call the 30-minute rule. And what the 30-minute rule is don't talk to your athlete about the game right after the game. Allow time to just kind of wind down. Allow your athlete to wind down from the game itself. Just like when you come home from work, you don't want to be talking about work right as soon as you get through the door. Most of the times, athletes do not want to talk about the game right after the game. They feel like they're just being beaten down, okay? Especially if they had a bad game, all right? So ask for permission to your child before you talk about the game. They might not want to talk about the game. And if they don't, that's perfectly fine. Don't force the issue if they don't want to talk about it. All right? So just allow time to kind of dissipate, allow them to relax, and then just allow everything to kind of take on in. Read their demeanor, okay, and direct their conversation. And one of the things I say is if a athlete has a bad game, has made mistakes, or gave up the home run to win for the other piece, they know they made a mistake. They know they cost the game. As parents, we don't have to be talking about that over and over and over again with them, okay? Now, on the flip side of it, if they had a great game, they probably want to talk about like nothing else. So that's when you want to be engaged with them. So you want to really, really read their demeanor and their body language to see if they really want to talk about this. And if they don't, respect it. Okay, you don't force it on them. Okay, so that's rule number 1, the 30-minute rule. Number 2, we want to talk about and discuss the process and not the outcome. And too many times we focus a lot on the outcome of performance. Did we win? Did we get so many points? Did we shoot our score in golf? Those are outcome-based activities. What we want to talk about is more performance-based, or the process. Okay, and one of the first things that we talk about with our athletes when we're going through the program on how to build up their inner game is we want our athletes to understand the things that are controllable versus the things that are not controllable. And we want to focus our thoughts and our actions on the things that we have control over. Okay? Too many times we focus on things that are not in our control, which takes us out of our game. So what are things that we can control as the athlete? The athlete can control their thoughts, they can control their effort, and they can control their preparation. Okay, those are a couple of things right there that they are able to control. Okay, that's the process. What are things that they cannot control? They cannot control the officials, they cannot control the outcomes of the games, and they cannot control the other teams. So those are things that they cannot control. And unfortunately, too many times we talk about things that are related to their not being able to control. So one of the things we want to do is when we talk about the process is ask our athletes, as you're talking to them, what did they learn about the game today? So the process is a process. It's a stepping stone to get better. So what did you learn today that you improved on? Okay. So what we want to do as a parent is take notice of the little things that your athlete did in that game. Don't look at the big things. Maybe just look at the little things. Look at their. Talk about how you liked how they ran after the ball, their efforts. Okay, those are the things you want to take notice of with your athlete instead of the actual physical things and trying to fix things. As parents, we try to fix things when things are not going right. Now, one exercise that I do with the athletes all the time is called a well, better, how. And a well, better, how is after a game, we want to discuss with the athlete is what did they do good, okay, well, what do they want to get better at, okay, and then how are they going to do it? So they might be happy that their drives felt really good off the tee box. Okay, they had a good swing with their drives. Okay, so that's good. All right, what do you need to do better at? Well, maybe they felt that their putting was a little off today. They really didn't get a chance to. Their stroke was a little off on the putting aspect. Okay, so how are you going to be better at your putting? Well, it might be, well, I have to get on the practice green and practice tempo, or practice my follow through, or keeping my eyes and reading the path of my shot, or just trusting my abilities to hit the putt. So that's the process. Okay. So well, better, how. And what the well, better, how is, our goal is we want our athletes to become 1% better. Okay. And they can be increased each and every day by 1%. By the end of the year, they'll be so better than they were today. All right? So that's a good exercise to use. Okay, goal number 3, okay? Eliminate expectations and instead set goals. Now, a lot of times we are setting goals for our athletes, but in essence, what the athlete is feeling is more an expectation. So an expectation are the demands of our performance. They're mostly focused on the outcomes of the results. I'm going to strike out 10 batters today. Okay, that's my goal. I want to get 15 points in my game. The problem is when we have results like those, if the athlete doesn't reach those goals, they might view their performance as negative, even though they had a great game. Remember, they cannot control the outcome of the game, but they can control their actions of the game. So instead, we want to focus on little manageable objectives that's going to help them improve in the game to be able to reach a desired goal that they're trying to set. So for an example, if they want to have a goal for golf of shooting a certain score, they want to reach 3 under. Okay, well, in order to reach 3 under, we got to be able to hit the fairway. So a goal might be, I want to hit the fairway at least 75% of the time off the tee box. Or a basketball player might want to score 20 points in a game. Well, the only way to do that is they have to attack the paint when they have the ball. If they're going to be inconsistent or they're going to be hesitant, they're not going to be that. So we want to attack the paint. A baseball player might have a goal of saying, I want to strike out 10 players. Well, that might be a lot. So instead, we want to focus one pitch at a time, okay, and hitting our target. You might not strike out the batters, but you might make quality pitches each and every time. So those are the things that we want to focus on. So eliminate the expectation and set many manageable goals. Number 4 is we want to take and watch and notice our athletes' body talk and body language. Okay, self-talk and body language. This is so critical when it comes to performance. Okay, self-talk is the inner dialogue of our minds, and unfortunately for athletes, we tend to be negative when we're talking about our self-talk. And if you start hearing words like "I can't," that's when our self-talk is going to start bringing us down. So when we start hearing those type of conversations come from your athlete, I can't do this, I can't do that, you want to try to shift and refocus their thoughts. And that's a lot of times when we use the word affirmations. Affirmations are statements such as I can be a strong athlete. I'm an athlete who always gives 100%. Okay, so those are the types of things that we want to focus on to help shift and refocus the self-talk aspect when you start hearing your athlete. The next thing we want to really watch is the body language of our athletes. My kid plays tennis, and I can show up late for my kid's tennis match, and all I got to do is read his body language. His body language will tell me if he's winning or losing. Okay? So what we want to do is we want to make sure that our body language is always confident. Okay? Our chest is up high, our head's up high, and our shoulders are back. If you see your athlete kind of moving down like this, okay, their body language is on a negative, and it's as an opponent. If I see body language that's like this and down, I know I have the advantage. So I teach athletes the ABCs of body language. Always behave confidently at all times, regardless if you're winning or you're losing. Okay, the next section is we want to teach our athletes to breathe. Now, I can go to a sporting event, and I hear all the time from my parents, focus, okay? Focus when you're shooting basketball. Focus when you're up at bat, okay? Unfortunately, focus is a skill that needs to be taught. And if the athlete is not taught how to focus, they don't know how to focus. So when you throw words like focus up there, Johnny Focus, he's thinking that he is, but in reality he's not, because he doesn't know how to. Okay, and that's one of the things that we teach athletes is how to focus. And one of the things that we teach athletes is basic breathing. Okay, so instead of telling your athlete to focus, tell your athlete to breathe. Okay, because when an athlete breathes, they become focused. Okay, so when they're focused, they become present. So we want to take the word focus and we want to have our athlete to breathe. Take a nice deep breath in, breathe it out, okay? And then just get refocused and think about what you got to do. So when can an athlete take a breath? Well, in the batter's box when they're playing baseball. Maybe it's on the pitcher's mound. Just take a breath before they throw, and now they're ready, okay? If they're on the starting blocks for track or swimming, at the free throw line, okay, or before serve. So teach your athletes just to breathe, take their time, slow themselves down, and that will get them the process of learning how to focus, okay? Okay. Number 6 is being a positive and support parent for your athlete. And you think already you are, okay? And I know you are. But the thing is we got to understand is, remember what we said before, is athletes, when they lose confidence, they have a fear. They want to please, okay? So mistakes are going to occur. Your athlete's going to make a mistake all the time, and that's great, okay? We want them to make mistakes, and we want them to learn from them, okay? If we want to make sure that it's okay for them to make mistakes, and they have to know it's okay for them to make a mistake, and that you're not going to, as the parent or the coach, get on them for making a mistake, a physical mistake. Now, a mental mistake, that's a little bit different. You can call that out, okay? Because again, they have the capabilities to improve on that. A physical mistake, everybody's going to make a physical mistake, right? So we have to just allow that to happen, and hopefully they can learn from it. And as a parent, you don't have to be out there to try to fix it, okay? Allow them to find the skills on how to fix it themselves. Now, parents, we have to be in control of ourselves when a child makes a mistake. I know it's so hard as the parent to be on the outside watching your child make the mistake and like, oh God, okay? But it has no reflection on you, okay? They're out there, they're playing, they made the mistake, and that's fine, okay? But we have to make sure that, again, that we control ourselves, because if we're getting so wound up, then our child sees that we're getting all wound up because of the mistake they just made. They just felt they let us down, okay? And that's what we're trying to stay away from, all right? All right. Tip number 7. I want you to tell your athlete every game, I want you to tell them a secret. And this secret goes so far in helping your athlete. I promise you that. All right? Now, sport has to be fun if we want our kids to play, to continue to play. And unfortunately, the pressure of sport gets in the way of our athletes to continue to play. What the little secret is that I want you to tell your child after every single match is I want you to tell them, I love to watch you play. Regardless of what happens, I love watching you play. Okay? And those are the biggest words of affirmations and support that you can give your child, that that you enjoy watching them play, so they can just go out there and play freely and not have to worry about all the other things that goes on with sport. Okay? That I know I can go out there regardless of what happens. My parents just love watching me play. So with that, I want you to act like the grandparent and not the parent. Because think of grandparents. They love and support people regardless. They love them unconditionally. They're not out there trying to fix things. Parents, sometimes we try to fix things. We want to try to stay away from the fix, and we want to lean into support. Okay? So that, if you want to see a major thing, tell your child, I love to watch you play, and just watch their eyes just light up. Okay? So, to summarize, those are my 7 tips to help build confidence that you can do right now to help build up confidence for your athlete. Okay? Remember, number 1, that 30-minute rule. Let's not talk about the game for at least 30 minutes. Okay? Work on the process. Talk about the things that they can control. Let's start setting some goals and not expectations. Look at your athlete's self-talk and body language. Remember the ABC, always behave confidently. We're not teaching don't tell our athlete to focus, but rather we want our athletes to breathe. Okay? Breathe will lean into focus. Allow your athlete to make mistakes, because that's how they're going to learn. And remember, it's not a reflection of you. And then finally, tell them the little secret. I love to watch you play, and watch their eyes light up. Now, let's take a minute and let's talk about mental sports performance coaching. Okay? So how do you know if your athlete can benefit from mental sports performance coaching? Let's look at some of these questions here. Are they playing up to their abilities? Do they play better in practice than in games? Do they doubt their abilities? Do they have negative talk? Do they feel anxious or nervous? Do they lose focus during a game? Do they lose confidence? Okay? So if your athlete has said yes to any of these questions, then your athlete can benefit from mental sports performance coaching. And that will hopefully help take their game to the next level. So at Superior Sports Psyche, I have different coaching options, okay, where I can do coaching. All my coaching I do is virtually. Okay, so no matter where you live in this country or around the world, we can do a coaching program for you. I can do a one-on-one, I can do groups, and I can do teams. And what I do is I follow my course, which I call the Resilient Athlete course. Okay, and this is my notebook here that I use, that I developed, and we talk about all different mental issues that's going to affect competition. All right, so if you feel like your athlete needs some help, please contact me for a free consultation. And if you mention this webinar, I'll give you 15% off any of the coaching programs that we move forward with. Okay. Now, in the Resilient Athlete course, okay, in my book, I focus on 3 aspects of the mental game, the inner game. And within the inner game, we have 3 things I want to focus on. 1 is I want to develop the athlete's mindset. Okay. 2, I want to develop their focus and their concentration. And then 3, I want to focus on building up their confidence. So all the skills and the techniques that I teach them are going to hit these three criterias, okay, to help build up their athletic performance. Okay. Now, the other note, like I mentioned, this webinar has come from my book, Raising a Resilient Athlete. And this book here I wrote as a parent's guide for, as a guidebook for parents and coaches. Right? And in the book, I talk about a lot of different things, but one of the things is to teach how to have a positive mindset, to cultivate a growth mindset, for your athlete. 2 is going to talk about how we can effectively communicate with our young athletes. We're going to talk about mindful parenting because our actions is going to affect our children. So we want to take a look at ourselves to make sure that we are being a positive role model for our child. And then finally, we're going to talk about the confidence boosters, very similar to what we did in this webinar today. Okay, so that is the book that I wrote that is available. Now you can check out all of my books on Amazon. Okay, again, my Raising a Resilient Athlete book is on Amazon. And when we've talked about the well, better, how activity, how to become 1% better, I did sports journals for different sports. And in the sports journal, I teach the athletes and give them journal questions on how to be that well, better, how. And in my Amazon bookstore, I have for different sports, I got baseball, this one's basketball, soccer, golf, tennis, softball, wrestling, and lacrosse. Okay, so you can use the scan button down there, and that will take you. And the link will be in the description below as well too. Okay. So you can connect with me on YouTube. I'm going to be trying to do some YouTube videos for this year related to different topics related to the mental game or the inner game, on how we can make our athletes better on the playing field. So subscribe to my YouTube page to stay updated on things that I'm doing with Superior Sports Psyche. Okay. Here's all my information that you can use. If you scan the QR code, that will take you to my website. All right. My email is down there along with my phone number. So please reach out to me for any questions that you might have regarding mental coaching or the mental game. I just want to say thank you to you all for listening. And as you go along, enjoy the journey of being a sports parent. Okay? Thank you for your time, and I hope to hear from you soon. Okay? Bye now.